ich mache eine... Estamos ao vivo, okay. Noch einen Moment. So, good morning, everybody. Herzlich willkommen, Frau Langen. I will make a short introduction of the Professor Dr. Nina Langen. She is professor and the chair of the Education for Sustainable Nutrition and Food Science at the TU Berlin. And also, Nina completed her PhD at the University of Bonn. While we were together there, it was a nice time, and also won a prize of Young Consumer Researcher Award about her dissertation in 2012, and many other awards. After that, in 2019, she received the Femtech Award in the category of innovation. And she is expert and working many years in researching in consumer research and consumer behavior, and also coordinates a bunch of projects, national, international. And today we have the honor to have you here, Nina, to present to us about one of your topics of your research about choice architecture, taste labs, tools for changing food choices. So be welcome, and sorry for all this confusion here. And we are really happy to have you today and to hear your your presentation. Be welcome.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I start to share my slides, I would say. No, slides are not possible. Better to share my screen. So let's see what screen will be shared. I have no idea. Mit zwei funktioniert am besten mit let's see. Fenster oder Bild. It takes some minutes, unfortunately.
Don't worry.
So where will you go here? Yeah, if I now share this screen, then I don't see anything. Fenster. Why is it not possible to just share my PowerPoint? That would be the easiest one. Okay.
Keine Sorge. Wir haben Zeit.
I get nervous, huh? Again. I have to select the screen, so let's take this one. So I take you to that one. Then I have only that. I have to close some things which are not here to share. Then we go here, present there. Check. First, da, allow. Take you closer. So which one? So am I sharing? Do you see my screen?
Not yet.
Why not?
Now.
Okay, it takes some seconds. So fine. Finally, I'm going to start. It's about choice architecture, and what we do here. Everything fine?
Okay,
fine. So what we do here, we are at TU Berlin, Technical University of Berlin, the capital of Germany. And we established a taste lab. So we do some taste experiments. We do some food production at the field with the students. We take it to our kitchen lab, and then in the end, we prepare something to eat, to have dishes and present the dishes to people, to consumers in our taste labs. And the idea is to try the effectiveness of different tools for changing consumer food choices. For sure, we are looking at food choices, knowing that we should also have the entire food value chain in our perspective and to have it in mind. But we most of the time focus on the consumer food choices. And today I'm going to present something about that. I start with decision-making strategy. So how do consumers arrive at their decision? which strategies do they have and apply. And what we know is that looking at decision-making strategies, we have to distinguish different types or aspects of these decision-making strategies. First, we can look at the type and amount of the information processed. And what is information? Information can be everything which is around the product or within the product. So it can be the taste inspection, it can be the packaging, it can be the color of a fruit, but it can also be some hints on the package. Then we look at the question whether there is some selectivity in information processing. This question is, do I look at the same information at every product, or do I just pick one information at product A and another one at product B? So am I consistent or not? Then third, am I looking at attributes or at alternatives? So most of the time we have more than one product. If I go to buy a coffee in a shop, it's most of the time I have more than one option to buy a pack of coffee. And then the question is, do I compare the alternatives, coffee A with this coffee B with this coffee C, or do I compare the attributes, so the information of the coffee, and go from one alternative to the next one? Then the question whether my strategy allows for compensation. So for example, I have an attribute which is important for me. Let's say taste. No taste. I do not know the taste of a coffee before, and so let's look at whether it's organic or not. And if I'm interested in organic production, and I see that the coffee is looks nice, but it's not organic, what now? Do I compensate and say organic is not, this is not an organic coffee, but it's quite cheap, or it seems to have a good taste afterwards? Then can I say that this price is that good that it's able to compensate for the not present organic certification? So these questions are those which are relevant for decision-making strategies, and making it here a bit visible with just some strawberry options. So I assume that I have here 3 options of strawberries. They are sold in different packages. Each is 500 grams, so I'm not comparing grams, but I'm comparing prices per gram. I'm comparing packaging, which is here obviously plastic. Here it's not plastic, but I have no clue what it is. Kind of a paper mix, maybe only paper. I have no clue. I'm a consumer, an ordinary one. And here also I just see it's not in plastic, but what it is, I don't know. Then I can look at the country of origin, and some strawberries are from Germany. Others are from really local, close to Berlin. So here I say these are more regional than others, and those are far from away. They're from Europe, but not from Germany, not from Berlin-Brandenburg region, but from Spain. Then, as I already said, I'm always interested in organic production, so I'm looking whether there is an organic label on it. If it's not an organic label there, then I just say no. Here I say yes. And with respect to the color, which is obviously always visible here, I say this color seems to be appealing for me, and this is quite okay, but they are not that red. So, and if I take redness, this color red, as an indicator for sweetness, then it might be interesting for me to look at color instead of tasting before purchasing. So this is what I see in a supermarket, and I see it very briefly, quickly. And here, for my decision-making strategy, the assumption is that I know what is relevant for me. So what are the relevant product attributes I'm interested in that are relevant for my preference? And it might be that other people say organic label I'm not at all interested in, or country of origin, who cares? It might be that you say, for me it's relevant that I can just easily bring it home, and then we are really interested in having a good packaging, and then it's a packaging where I'm not interested in plastic or not, but I say this is a packaging which really saves my food until I'm at home, or protects it, and this is not a protecting thing, and I'm not interested in plastic but in protection. So this might be that I'm looking at packaging from another perspective, and this depends on people. So we have strawberries in the market, we have multiple consumers, and these consumers bring different interests and product characteristics with them. And we have to distinguish, as we all know, these product characteristics which are intrinsic or extrinsic. We talk about product and process quality, and as we all know, organic label is not something which changes the taste of a product. It's just a process which is different. So here we are looking at the process quality, whereas color as indicator for sweetness might be a product category and an inherent product characteristic. So we know all this from information economics, but now the question here is whether we know how people decide. And if we go now here when we start with the first point, which type of information is processed? So do we all process these 5 different informations, or do we not? And it might be that I'm looking really at every 5 information pieces, but you say, as an other consumer, I'm looking for price, and this is appealing, just take one of it. Others might say 5 information, no, it's fine for me, 3 is enough. So this depends. What about the selectivity in information processing? It might be that for the first product, I have high attention, so I'm interested in it, I have time, but then for the second product, I'm not that interested anymore. It takes more time, and for the third and the fourth product, I have not the time to say, let's look at everything. So it might be that I'm selective, more interested in the first product, not that interested in the last one, because of information overload. Then with respect to the attribute based, here, as I'm interested in organic label, I would say starting just looking at organic and comparing the products here for organic, and then starting with my second most interested point for here, country of origin, I'm going to compare this. And another person might say, no, I stay with a product and to compare the alternative, look at the whole alternative until I go to the other. And in the end, we will see, or maybe not see today, but this might make a difference how we select a product. For example, if I say that an organic label is never ever accepted for me, then these 2 products will not be in my final decision or in my final choice set, since I have only one product here. And then it's with respect to this question 4, is this bad quality, not organic? Can I compensate it with a good price? And here, this price is, for example, not better than that one, but this one is maybe an acceptable price for me, having in mind that this is the most appealing product for me because I like plastic packaging, for example. So, and this interplay of different product characteristics and then what we find in the market, so the label attributes, this is interesting, and it might lead to completely different informations in the end and strategies and final decisions. And this is why we have that many options in the market, because people are different and they use different decision-making strategies at different points in their life. And what Batman published here in 1998 is a distinction of different strategies. Here we have the weighted added strategy, which is a really intensive workload behind, compared to a lexicographic strategy where you are you have a different kind of processing. We have also elimination by aspect, so looking at which aspect can I eliminate, which is not interested, I'm not interested in for. And looking at different strategies, and we have more than 8 which are different, we can distinguish the effort and the accuracy. So how long does it take me to come to a decision? Oh, this is the effort. And we have strategies where you have to consider every piece of information, you have to value it, and you have to compensate between a good and a worse alternative, or not all the alternative, but an attribute. And this strategy is really hard to process for every good. So high effort, but definitely accurate with respect to my preferences I have. And then I have other strategies where I say just I look at some points which are relevant, just for example, country of origin and price, and then I just decide and I ignore that there are other attributes which I could have a look at. So here I have it might be that I arrive at a decision which is a quite easy one, a quick one, but it's not best according to my preferences, which I would state if I'm asked. So here the question is always whether I know my preferences very well, and then if I have the time and the chance to fulfill a decision making which is in accordance to my preferences. So having this in mind, we know that we have these strategies, but people decide using heuristics. So what are heuristics? So we have rule of thumbs, for example, just quick helpers, and the availability heuristic might be such a heuristic, as well as representativeness, anchoring, or recognition. So and just to have one anchoring, for example, anchoring heuristics is a nice one. Here there are some experiments available showing that people have been influenced by an anchor which is completely unrelated to their decision-making task, but that an anchor, a price, like a shifter, some figures, might influence willingness to pay for a product. And here an interesting example was that people were asked to just write down some numbers which are related to them. It could be, for example, the last two numbers of your telephone number. And this is completely unrelated to your personal preferences for chocolate choice, for example. So, and writing these numbers down, and I have a high number, some other person have a low number at the end. Then I'm presented with different choice tasks. So I'm asked whether I would like to buy a piece of chocolate or a kind of a cookie, whatever. And then what we saw in these studies is that the anchor, which I have used before, which is this number, a high or a low number, will influence the willingness to pay of people for a product. And this is quite interesting that, things which are unrelated might influence each other. What we see at this example is that these heuristics influence people subconsciously, so we don't know that this happens, and this makes an informed decision quite difficult. So we have to know that heuristics might help us because they make us be able to decide, like for 200 food decisions every day, which we are deciding for, drinking this or that in the morning, in the evening, eating here or not eating is also a decision. So decision-making strategies might be supported by heuristics, but heuristics are not always leading to an accurate decision. Here, I just have so many cognitive biases for you to bring, if you have time at home. There are so many cognitive biases which are interesting to study, and it might be always useful to have in mind how we are affected by these cognitive biases. Besides, we have, as we know, loss aversion, we have framing effect. So how is information presented in a negative way, so that I have the feeling I'm losing something, or are they framed in a positive way? And framing might also alter my choices. And what I have here is just a visual illusion. This shows, or it should show, that we have two plate sizes, and we have a bigger outer circle and a smaller inner ones. So the outer circle is the plate, the inner circle is what is presented on the plate. Here some pasta, and the idea is now to ask yourself whether you think that there's more or less or equal pasta on the two plates. And as I'm presenting here, the Delboeuf illusion, you could just imagine in the end, it's just the outer circle which is different. So the plate size is different, but the amount of pasta in the middle is the same. So here it might be that you feel that the amount of pasta on the smaller plate is much more than on the larger one. So we have here the influence of different forms and circles, which, yeah, alter people's comprehension of things. Here's the same, just with a black one in the middle, just illustrating how consumer perceive things. So having this in mind, let's talk about taste. Many people think that taste is something they know about, that they know about their personal taste. And my question here is whether taste is relevant for people. And Jason Lusk published here in 2016 that for the millennials' food values, we see taste is the most important one. There are other interesting things, like for me, I'm always interested in the environment. For the millennials, this is not that interesting. Also fairness, fair trade production is not that interesting. They are interested in taste. They like safe products. They like affordable products. They're interested in nutrition questions. And these are the most relevant topics here for the younger people. So having in mind that people are interested in taste, so taste is important for them, we look at the question whether taste is a clear thing or not. And I brought a Mentimeter question with you, and I hope you can go to menti.com, just type in this code here, and to answer the question, what tastes saltier? And to not change my presentation mode here, I would say we will look at the conclusion at the very end of the presentation, and I'm not going to change here anything, but I ask you to go to menti.com, use this code, which is B, and just answer the question whether the one or the example A or B is more saltier than the other one. Okay. I just assume that you did it, and present here an example of a publication of food quality and preferences in 2008, and it was about the role of expectancy in sensory and hedonic evaluation at the case of smoked salmon ice cream. So what they did is they presented food, and they gave this food different names. In the first example, it was called ice cream. Then it was called, in a second example, frozen strawberry mousse. And in the third one, it was just food 386. So a food with a number. And then people, so seeing this label, either ice cream or mousse or food, were asked to rate pleasantness or saltiness. So people tasted and said, okay, this here, this ice cream, with the food with the label ice cream, this was not that pleasant for me. It was rather salty. And a product called ice cream was significantly saltier in the perception of people than a mousse or a food. Here we don't have a significant difference if we go to these standard deviations. What we see is that a food which is exactly the same is perceived to taste more salty, has a higher level of saltiness if it's called ice cream. So the idea behind is that people perceive ice cream as a thing, as a food, which is at the most of the time not salty. So the expectation and what they tasted were really far away from each other, and therefore it was considered to be unpleasant. So we have here really the difficulty that what people think, what they will taste, and what they taste can be influenced by a food label. So, because in the end they taste all the same. It's the same product, just with different name, and it should be equally pleasant and equally salty, but it's not. So the food name is influencing taste perception. So what to do in a taste lab? This is how we presented it from time to time. We invite people, we ask them to wait until we have time to seat them. We always try to decorate the room that it doesn't look that much as if we are at the university, but in the end we are always there. Then we invite people. We have different formats. Sometimes people just sit there, they have questionnaires, and they know that they're rating products. Here, for example, they had 3 types of mousse, chocolate mousse. Two was just the same. A third option was different, and they were asked to indicate which one was not the same, so the different one, and they were also asked whether it tastes good or not good. And what we had here was just an example of mousse au chocolat, which represented with aquafaba, so chickpea water, and we used that to replace the milk and the cream inside of the mousse au chocolat to make it healthier, less fatty on the one hand side, and kind of more ecologically friendly, because we replaced a milk product, and we all know that cows contribute to CO2 emissions and therefore climate change. So that was our idea, to change the recipe, to make it more sustainable in a whole with respect to environment and also healthiness dimension of food, and then ask people whether they are able to distinguish products or not, and whether they it tastes fine or not. But we also invite people to just go around, and here, for example, we had different kinds of apple juice, and informed them about production issues, and also asked whether they tasted different. And here it was at a year where we had kind of a format which we called it was trends, taste the trend. And at this time, it was in 2018, in Germany, the cold brew coffee was on its rise. So the people presented cold brew coffee, and people would just ask whether it tastes acceptable for them or not. So we always have just some quick things where people can just approach tasting without any environmental aspects. Here at the Flying Buffet, we just presented what we did with banana peels, because you all know that most of us are eating bananas without peels, and our question was whether these peels, which is in the end food waste, could be eaten or not, and if they could be eaten, what is the most tasty. And here it was the soup. Actually, people like the soup, but they did not realize that it was a banana soup, because we had so many curry put inside that it was just a soup for the people. We also try to experiment with different kinds of sugar forms and sugar ingredients to sweet things, and so to let people see what are the alternatives, and do these alternatives change consistence or color, or also taste in the people. Same here. So just to present what we do, we do many things, and invite people. We also had a big project on insects for food and feed in a Horizon 2020 project called Sauce and Chain, and we asked people beforehand whether they are willing to try some insects. And here the idea was, if we present it to people and they say yes or no, we wanted to convince the no-sayers, and wanted to know. So the idea was to say it might be possible to convince people with a good story. So this kind of frame which we put around the insects might influence their willingness to try an insect. And so we presented different stories to convince them. But in the end, what we realized was we presented these insects just asking, do you want to try? And people said no, but at the same time, they took it and ate it. So what we see were people saying no, but eating. So at the same time. So in the end, we could not test our different stories because people just went eating. And what you always can do if you have a taste lab, you must be sure that people have a clue about tasting. So we have super tasters. We have people who taste more bitterness than others, more sweetiness, or have a preference for sweet compared to bitter. And it might also always be good to have an idea who answered what. And therefore we have kind of these tests where you have a degree of sweetiness added, and we ask people, so until which degree it's acceptable or not, or do we taste anything, do we taste nothing? And this is something you do in a closed shop normally, with a kind of a box around you, but we don't have the boxes, so we do it in this way. And then people are just sitting with their own not talking. In the other format, people were able to talk. Here it was just a calm environment. Yes, this is just a presentation where which I already tried for my dissertation, which was on coffee choices and willingness to pay for fair trade coffee compared to kind of donations or cost-related marketing issues. And I replicated an experiment which I did in Bonn, and the idea was to sell coffee and to present people with a choice of fair trade option versus a conventional option, so a normal coffee which was not fair trade labeled. And we presented coffee in different sizes, espresso, latte macchiato, normal coffee, and change prices every half an hour. And people did not realize that we were changing prices. And the idea was to see that if the price difference from fair trade to conventional is getting higher and higher, then at a certain point, people are no longer willing to accept this higher price of fair trade coffee. But as already found in Bonn, there is not such an ordinary or expected price cut, price boundary. People would just use it or asking for the fair trade option. More than 80% of the people asked us to provide them with a fair trade option, independent of the price difference between fair trade and not fair trade. So this was kind of a study you can never publish because it's so irregular that you have so many yes sayers to fair trade coffee. Yeah, but nevertheless, for the taste lab, what we always do is we give the solutions at the end. So if we have kind of a hidden experiment or information, here it was the information for cold brew coffee, we want to give people so that they get out informed. Then the students, which are becoming teachers in the end, they are standing in front, they're presenting their results, their experiments, their hypotheses, and informing the whole audience what was this about. So this is always nice to see how engaged they are, and for them it's a big thing to present what they did at university. Oh, this is going back, and it always goes each year because we have a team, a big team which is willing to support us. Here are two of them. Just contributing, not students, just team members, and always there when it comes to do some things about food literacy as you. Then we had a kind of a citizen science project where we looked at ethical questions, and we wanted to investigate how people taste with ordinary people. And this project, here you can look at in the internet. It's in English, as far as I know. Scientists and the non-scientists were talking about the opportunities and also the barriers of approaching taste within a citizen science project. And then we did kind of a particular story which we published this year in the International Journal of Gastronomy and Food Science. and it was about exploring our senses. Here, this is how it looked like, and it was a journey through the senses of taste. We invited people, and our culinary concept was to say that we have 6 sensory experiences: salty, bitter, umami, fatty, sour, and sweet, and that we presented these 6 taste qualities during the evening, during 1 hour, in different formats, as you see here. Here, for example, salt was presented in small packages, whereas here the sour cocktails were presented in particular glasses. Our sweet drops were just presented in small pieces, and then we had also an ordinary, normal presentation on a plate. So we asked people, we asked people, sometimes we asked here using scales like this or like that, but we also tried to assess whether people prefer to answer not in a written format or using words, but just using colors, and tested whether this was more attractive to people than another format. And here, for example, how to capture the taste preferences. Here, we saw that many people were just here indicating that something's tasted like red or yellow or green or blue. But others said, oh, if I have to distinguish taste, it's about smelling, it's about that what I see, but it's also about that what I taste in my mouth. And this is quite different. So we have many mentions here, and it's hard to analyze kind of a preference format like that. We also asked people to say, to draw a picture or to write a text about what they taste. And what we saw is that having the 3 options between drawing, writing texts, or just indicating in a color wheel which color is what they taste, then we saw that half of the people choose the color wheel. Maybe because it's the fastest or easiest option. It might also be that taste is better to express in color. We don't know so far, because we did not ask people afterwards about their opinions and why they have decided for the one or the other option. We saw that predominantly yellow was chosen here, and we know yellow tones are representing cheerfulness and activation, in contrast to enthusiasm and tension for the red, or health and freshness for the green tones. So we here have to bring together what people have chosen as a color to what we have presented as a dish, and to find some explanations why people did. A bit easier was this one. We compared sweetness and shape. This was the same food, just in a different format. And what here we asked the people, so here you have these forms, what is very sweet, what is not that sweet, or is it average? Sweet just indicated for each of these drops. And then what we see is that the shape influences the perception of sweetness. And for most of the people, we have here that the quarter is perceived significantly sweeter than the round, and it's also significantly sweeter than the square. So if you want to provide at the next party a product which is perceived to be sweet, but has in fact, for example, a reduced sugar content because you're interested in providing a healthy food option, then just present it in kind of a quarter, and then people hopefully find it sweet enough. So here we see that the shape is influencing perception. And we have all this from the literature. We know from literature that color, shape, and also flavor have a significant influence on perception and food appreciation. And we wanted to test it in our real world lab setting with ordinary consumers. And this is important. Many of the taste studies we have are not done with ordinary consumers, but with trained experts, and this might be or result in different results here. Everything was presented, and this is important, by somebody who knows how to cook in a good way. It was Daniel Gottschlich, which is a two Michelin star chef from Cologne, and he was invited and presented everything to the consumers. Yeah, when it comes to the detailed insights, we compared here, for example, algae salt, hickory smoked salt, and rose salt, and wanted to see what people say. Why do we think that saltiness is an interesting attribute when it comes to sustainable consumption? We know that we can use salt for preservation to enhance flavor and taste, but at the same time, our salt intake is far too much relative to the healthy levels, and Germans consume too much. So our idea was to ask ours which of this salt has the poor salty predominantly note to have an option. And here what we see is how many the first keywords which are associated with the different salts, and salt notes are dominated here for the sea wheat salt and the hickory smoked salt, and this what we see here just makes it different. For the bitter, we just wanted to know whether bitterness is still not a preferred taste quality, whether bitter as a warning signal is still there, helping us to eat poison products, for example. But bitter can also be a good product attribute in the whole idea of a sustainable diet, because ancient varieties which might strengthen biodiversity are often more bitter than others, and bitter tones are also helpful for our digestion. So here we wanted to see what about the bitter perception, and what we found out is that really 93% of our respondents tried all bitter intensities. So there was a great openness to taste, and there was not a bitter aversion in this sense that people said quickly, no, bitter is not something I want to eat. With respect to umami, we know that umami is delicious, or because high glutamate levels generate taste, we used here risotto to create an umami taste together with some mushrooms, and asked people to say what they feel here. And this is what they presented to us: some landscapes, flowers. Some people were unhappy. They had here decided to market in this color range to say, and hardly anybody wrote something down. Yeah, when it comes to fat, this is really important since many people are overweight in Germany, worldwide as well. So what about our fatty taste perception? Is it lowered when food is sweetened or not? People prefer fatty and sweet products, and we asked ourselves when it comes to quark, which fat content is preferred, and just found what was maybe expected. The highest fat content did best. It was significantly better perceived than the low fat level, but not significantly better than the medium fat level. So it might be an option to choose the medium fat level when it comes to such a dish, and thereby reduced fat contents. Sour food can help in the prevention of some things. Sour foods are sometimes disliked, it depends. So here we had a cocktail with orange and pineapple juice, rosemary, lemon, glass water, and soda. We added acids, and these were different acids, and wanted to see having the pH value constant, whether people think that one product is more sour than the other one, how is sourness perceived. And yeah, what we had here, that acetic acid tasted sourest, and this was followed by citric acid and lactic acid. So what we see is that depending on what we add here as ingredient, this is perceived different, even though the pH value is constant. So here again, it matches sweet. We already had that. So let's go forward with this. So now we know taste can be altered by color, by form, by the presentation, by the format around. So when we are assessing taste, we know that food choices are enabling a transformation of the food system, and we need to look at the individual food choices. And we also know that food choices are not only influenced by my personal perceptions or personal characteristics, but also my social and situational factors. Am I alone? Am I in a hurry? Do I have money? Can I afford this or that? Am I on holidays, relaxed or not? So all these factors can be influenced in the end by an intervention strategy, an environmental intervention. So our question in many projects we have is to how achieve sustainable food choices. And we have these kind of different formats. Here you just pick, for example, a quick coffee to go. You just stand in a line and you go. And here you're drinking a coffee at the end of a dinner, having had some time to really sit down, relax, and eat calm. And what we have to have in mind is that the options, we have individual things, religious preferences or health things which are relevant, but we also have these options in a Mensa, for example, or a canteen, where others say how it works. So do we have a pre-selection, for example, of food? Am I choosing in advance or at the point when I'm hungry? What am I able to see? Am I provided with an overview on a screen, or is there a presentation of food when I come into the canteen and I can see, okay, this is how it looks like on a plate, which might make a difference. And then the question whether they use kind of flower names, descriptive food names to describe the food they are presenting. In the buffet, where in the buffet comes the sustainable option, the healthy option, the vegetable option, the ice cream at the beginning, at the end. So somebody arranged all this. So what we here had is just a presentation which I presented with my students to inform cooks about the many options where you can have a look on a small thing to change the choice environment for the people. And here is the description in a more sophisticated way. So we have individual factors, a social environment, and also a physical environment and a macro environment which influences food choices. And here for the individual, I have an attitude, I have knowledge about, for example, different food labels. My identity is that I care for that. Skills, I'm able to cook or I'm not. I have time or not. What about my others? Is my family also convinced that we should reduce salt intake or should reduce sugar content in our cakes? What about the social norm? Do my friends expect that I bring a vegan option to a barbecue, or is it that they expect me to eat meat? What about my setting in a restaurant? Do I have the possibility to really choose, or are they influencing me because it's loud, it's hot, whatever. This might also change anything. And with respect to food policy, health policy, what is this environment giving to me as an information? So it's me, it's the others. In the end, it's here. Am I serving my things by myself? Is somebody serving me? What about the portion size? Am I the one deciding for the portion size or somebody else? Is the green option available at the end? So is it easy or not easy to get it? Do I have a tray? If I have a tray, we all find in the literature that people select more healthy food as compared to if they are just handling it in their hands. So it depends on with whom am I there. Are these my colleagues, or is this my boss, or is it my family or my friend? What do these people expect what I eat? This might change anything. Then the question of payment. Am I paying cash, or do I use my credit card? Do I have pain of payment? Do I feel comfortable when spending my money because I know it's a good food and it's really good to spend money for an apple? Or do I know that this kind of food is not the best one? Ice cream, for example. I know that ice cream it's not a healthy option. And if I'm giving my good money in cash to a non-healthy option, this might lead to pain of payment. And therefore, depending on which option of payment methods is given in a restaurant or at the point of sale, this might influence my choice. So here is my ghost for the pain of payment. And then here, there is one study looking at the social factors, finding out that women eating together with men eat less compared to women eating with women or men eating with men. So it seems as if women are influenced by men in their surrounding, and that is subconsciously. So everything together, I have different possibilities to intervene. I could look at the individual social or the physical environment, but I can also look as here at the stages of food choice. So I'm choosing, I'm serving, I'm eating, I'm cleaning up, I'm paying in between, putting this together, intervening it, I know what can happen. And here, for example, for the choice, I have different options here, intervention options. I can ask people, for example, to indicate in advance 1 week before, for example, which dish they want me to cook. And then I have kind of an obligation, a personal obligation created, so that I feel I'm responsible now because I voted for this option to also eat this option. And then it can be the healthier option which is decided. But I can also place the most relevant products at the top so that they are really at a key position and available, present for people. I can indicate with the color in the back whether there's a healthy option or not. I can use the traffic light system. I can present it in different stages in my service line, starting with the most or the most sustainable option, which is not meat, presenting the meat at the very end. And some people then have enough on their plate and they say, okay, no, this is enough. I don't need any more. I can use some descriptive food names to present or to create kind of a experience, a food experience. So if I say that this is a chocolate cake with a recipe of my grandmother, this might lead to a different taste expectant than if it's just a chocolate cake. And what some research showed that it's not only taste expectation, which can be altered by descriptive food names, but also the taste, the taste which is then felt or described, so people really feel more comfortable after eating a cake with a certain name. And then I can use labels for sure, but labels are most of the time a thing we have to cognitively process and to really use using high involvement. And here are some examples of a choice architecture setting at TU Berlin. They are presenting, surprisingly, water in plastic bottles instead of just giving normal tap water in open glasses, which also might have been an option. They are presenting sugar. Why should they? I would say, oh, if it's here, it's kind of fruity. Why present sugar? They are not indicating whether this is a cow milk or an alternative, a milk alternative. They are presenting here sugar again, very obviously, as if it's a social norm to eat some sugar. But they are also presenting here fruits, and they are indicating that these are particular fruits from food savers, which are smaller, which might have some damages or to be ugly fruit. So here, this was a presentation, or it was a format where the university invited us to think about sustainable options of eating, and this is what they presented to us. So their choice architecture was not in line with, or not that in line with what they wanted us to learn. But it's about nudging. It's about the idea that I can help people to push them in the direction they want to go, to choose according to their preferences, but helping them not to possess everything information because this is so demanding. And here what we see is a different presentation of food and a plastic tray compared to a home style table setting or a gourmet table setting, and this changed the evaluation of a dish. So if you want to present something where you think it might be that people don't like it, then present it in the best way you can do, and then it might be that acceptance and also after eating evaluation might be good. Menu default is also an interesting thing. If you have the chance to be the one who is deciding what others are going to eat at a conference, for example, then using a sustainable option as a default might be a good alternative, because most of the people are not are choosing the default option. So they are not going the extra way forward to say, no, don't click the default, I indicate what I want instead of that. And because it's more effort to go away. What we saw in some experiments we had in real world lab is that simple prompts are very effective. And here our prompt was just an easy one. Just take as many food as you can eat. So it's so easy, it's so normal, we would say, to say just take what you eat, don't take more. Well, this is what is indicated here. And this reduced food waste up to 1/3 at the plate level. And then we also tried some kinds of social norms, descriptive norms, and we did not feel that they are that effective as prompts were. And we had some practitioners asking us to develop kind of other information formats as big as this, but with more information. And we did not see that this one was more effective. It was just that, indicating one small sentence, presenting that, and this changed people's food eating behavior. With respect to color of food and color of plate, we tried it at the last long night of sciences. We bought some different plate colors because we wanted to know whether here on a red color there's more or less food waste in the end of the day compared to a white one or a green one. And we presented the same dish. It was all the same amount of food presented in the same way, the idea was to present enough so that people could eat everything, but also have some leftovers, because we wanted to check in the end whether leftovers are determined by plate color. The students did not know that we were interested in this. They just knew that we were interested in the effect of color, food color on and plate color, and created here also identical color codes for their food. We presented it. In the end, we had to weigh the leftovers, but as you see here, there were not many leftovers in general, so maybe we did not have enough food on the table, on the plates. This is how it was looking like, the food at the different tables, and we asked people what is more appreciated, what is more delicious, what would you prefer if you have the choice. But in our experiment, people did not have the choice. We seated them, and they did not realize that different colors of plates were provided. This is still ongoing research, though I cannot say what's more effective for the moment. We have to analyze our data, but we will do in the next times. This is how it was just presented. These are the people sitting on the table. People were eating in groups. We had youngers, we had older people, or adult people, and in the end we had these teams sitting together during the night because they did it and made it possible. So even though there has been published a lot about nudges, I can say that there are still chances to find the most appropriate nudge, appropriate with respect to what you want to do. I'm always interested in the sustainable food choice, so I'm looking at nudges helping consumers to choose the sustainable option, helping consumers to eat their food they have selected, to not have food waste. We tried different things in real-world labs. We found that some replications do not work, that it's quite a different whether you do it in a lab format compared to a normal cafeteria or a normal restaurant. Yes, I can recommend to do this kind of research and to try on your own what is working. Here, with respect to choosing, serving, eating, cleaning, different stages in the environment, the social one or the individual factors. I like this kind of work, and I hope this was interesting for you. Thank you very much, and I'm coming back to you and your questions now. Thank you.
Thank you, Langen. Wonderful presentation. And it's on. We have some questions. To answer some. Nina?
I hear you, but I thought it might be better if my micro is off. So.
Good. Can you see the chat, or should I read to you one by one?
I unfortunately I don't see a chat.
So I make the what prospects do you see for the future research on this topic? How do you see this for the future?
I think this will be our the easiest future we have now. So I'm convinced that we need a dietary shift. We have to change our food system. We have to change our food choices. We have to eat more sustainable. And you can do it via educating people. We can do it via indicating via labels what it's all about, whether it's fair or sugar reduced or plastic reduced, whether the ingredients are sourced regionally or organic or whatever. So you can indicate all that. But most of the people don't have the time or the interest in these topics. They are not experts when it comes to food production. And then sometimes we do not, just we as an expert, do not know whether it's better to have a regional apple in February or to have an apple from Australia in February here in Germany, because we don't know whether it was handled during storage, for example. So we need so many information to have an informed choice. And my idea is that we have, if we deal with people who have bounded rationality, and most of the people have kind of bounded rationality, we do not know anything. We cannot process any information available because we have too many choices we have to do each day. Then it's easier to work with food environments in which the sustainable option is an easy option, and then not just help us. So, and then we for sure have to know that people like us to nudge them, for sure. But the nice thing with nudges is that options are still available. I'm not forbidding ice cream. I'm just presenting ice cream in a form so that you don't want to eat this kind of ice cream, or you want a sugar-reduced ice cream or a fat-reduced ice cream or whatever. So I'm presenting other options compared to ice cream so that you're going more and more, not every day, but more and more to the more sustainable one. And with every small step, in the end, we are changing our diet and coming to a more sustainable diet. So I think it's worth looking at food colors, to just having the idea that I'm eating sweetness without adding sugar. So, and then if I know that it's sweeter if it's pink, add some pink, whatever, that might help. If I know that with a red plate, I produce less food waste because I'm just eating, then my recommendation will be, let's try and buy some red plates. And if you don't have it in the households, you can have it in the school canteens, you can have it in the ordinary canteens, you can have it wherever. There are so many food environments which could help us to change individual choices without educating consumers every day. That I think it's worth and interesting looking at these kind of questions.
And what about marketing that influences consumers' choice? What about this big chain of industry that controls what we eat, what we consume, what we choose?
Yeah, so we should be aware that there's a big marketing machine working around us, and they are trying really to make us buy stuff, and this stuff is not always the best stuff. It's what they can produce at a small price or a reasonable price for them, and they want to make profit. So most of the enterprises have this goal, economic goals. So having this in mind, I think it's worth that we inform people about our own possibilities to nudge our own, to have something against it. So it's kind of a toolbox which I'm providing to myself while talking about that. So I'm presenting all these informations also to the consumers in the end in our choice lab, to giving them the chance to determine by their own whether they want to be nudged or marketed or not. And then, yes, for sure, we need cognitive involvement. We have then the informed consumer, but in combination, it might be a good thing to change also what is offered in the end. So the idea is that having these more concerned people, also they kind of pull these better kind of products out of the ordinary market to change it from the production side.
And that is about consumer awareness. If you can, for example, differentiate consumers from developing country and developed countries, this is a huge gap. And here in Brazil, we are not aware of many or most of the issues that you brought today. I think we know, but we don't know that we know. And we do things we don't want to do, but we do. I want to buy organic, but at the end I buy conventional, for example. Or I want to decrease the level of consumption of meat, but I still eat meat every day, for example. We want to change, but we don't do a movement to decrease the consumption of some items that we could decrease, for example. And this is a huge gap between Europe and developing countries. What can you say about that?
Yeah, first of all, I would say that this attitude behavior gap exists throughout the world. You will always find people telling me that I'm going for free range chicken eggs, but in the end you look at the what they have in the supermarket box, and then it's just an egg, which is not free range. So we have this throughout the world, but the difference might be that the question of affordability is quite different. Even though poorer people here in Germany are poor, they are not that poor that they have to struggle with €1 per day or €2 a day. So there are possibilities for them to find sustainable options. But also here, now we have this question about who can afford a sustainable diet. And just in the morning, in the German newspapers, I read a headline that like 30% of the German people cannot afford a sustainable diet because it's more expensive. So far, we don't have real prices. We don't have the internalization of the external costs. So true prices, not real prices. So we don't have the environmental costs included. And this also hinders people to make the good choice. And then we have uninformed people. We have them everywhere. And you need kind of a certain level of education to process information easily. But it's not only education. You need the freedom, so the free time to concentrate on that. If you're really struggling with your kids, with your parents, doing care work, and then there are so many things more important than a food choice that people want to buy organic or want to cook on their own or want to reduce sugar, but it's also it's something they cannot afford in their daily life. And there the environment has to change. It's really an environmental shift where regulation can help, where it also might be helpful that certain products are no longer available in the market. Sugar additive, lemonade, whatever. Yeah, there are so many products we just don't need to eat, or to make our living and to survive. And if they are not available, people cannot see them, then they cannot eat them. Make it that easy. Yeah, that could be an option. But and a different thing is what might be for the Swiss people. So, for example, they're interested in fair trade much more than the Germans. So we even have here in the two countries which are next to each other, different interests in certification schemes and labeling and food characteristics. And the same might be then in Brazil, that in the one countryside it's quite different because people feel more a connection to the one or the other topic. And this is important when it comes to global value chains, yes.
Is there any from our audience? If not, I think I went through all the questions. And Nina, I want to thank you again for sharing with us your research, your knowledge, your experiences, your lab experiences. And I am sure many of our students will see this presentation afterwards. And I really thank you again to be with us today. And I hope to see you soon again.
Thanks for the invitation. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Ciao, Nina.
Ciao.
Bye, people.